in this game, Olafsson starts with the English opening. So you're thinking to yourself, going for a positional game, something a little bit slower. Watch how he makes the English opening look like the most aggressive thing you've ever seen in your life. Okay? I mean, it's just crazy. So, knight f6, knight f3, like, la la la, you don't think anything of it. Pawn b6, a sort of Queen's Indian. I mean, it just depends exactly what Olafsson does. So, okay, so now I would say it's more of a ready type of position. And we are going to see how that happens. Okay, so in this position, we have a very solid position for both players. And I want you to take a look at this. So take a look at this position right here. Okay? This is about as solid as you could friggin' possibly imagine. Okay? Black has no piece problems. Black's minor pieces are all in the game. And you look at this position, you're like, I don't see how checkmate, I don't see how a fierce attack is going to brew from this position. Right? But Olafsson makes it happen by playing the most ambitious move, pawn to e4. The one thing that White has going for him here is White has an extra center pawn. White has both the e and the d pawns. Black only has the e pawn. So while Black doesn't have a problem with any of the minor pieces like you would normally have, White has a center. And rook f to d1 is interesting. And then after knight to f6, he plays knight to e5. And again, I don't really think much about this position. It seems like so solid. But watch what happens. And I thought Olafsson wants to play d4 and try to attack down the central files. But that's actually not what he wants to do at all. So check this out. He starts to notice that Black is preparing for this move. So he says, okay, I got something for you, Larsson. You think I'm going to play here. All of your moves, you're placing your queen on b8, just waiting for me to go d4. You're going to take, and then you're going to take, and then you're going to trade everything. And Olafsson now plays the move d3. And he says, I'm not going to play d4. I've got a nice bishop. I'm now, with my pawn on d3 and e4, I'm blunting your bishop. I'm making your knight ineffective. And I've got a majority on the king side, and I'm going to attack you on the king side with my pawns. And this change of plans was really strong by Olafsson because it doesn't permit Black any, sort of flexibility at all, because Black's bishop is blocked in, the knight is dominated, this bishop on e7 is blocked in as long as that pawn on c5 stays there. So check this out. So he shifts to the d file, Larsson does, to try to attack the d pawn, although it's not easy to attack the d pawn. Olafsson plays h4. He starts to maneuver his pieces on the king side where he has the majority. Knight to d7, knight to g4, he does not want to trade. Pawn to f6 in an effort to try to blunt the bishop. Bishop h3. I mean, the way he plays this attack is just gorgeous. He's now picking on this pawn on e6, newly created weakness since of the move f6. And all of look at him. He's using every attacking mechanism at his disposal. So he jams the pawn into the king side. We've seen that before. f5 was played, and I love this. He says, oh, there you go, take my knight. I'm going to play bishop takes g7. You can have my knight. Well, Larsson was like, okay, I'll take that. And then Olafsson would say, queen takes g4. And he says, okay, now we're talking. Now we mean business. Now Larsson is up a piece. But the earlier arrangement of his pieces was designed for the center to open. But the center never opened. And now black's pieces are a little bit further away from the king side. Of course, there are plenty of discoveries, but one of the hidden beautiful points in this position is that if you ignore the discoveries, there's a checkmate, there's a nasty checkmate, like this. Queen takes e6, rook takes, and bishop takes, checkmate. Beautiful. So, first of all, it isn't very logical to allow these discoveries, but it is nice to just sort of see that that's a possibility. So yes, indeed, king f7 is forced. Hey AG, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. So, king f7 was played because that just makes sense. Okay? I mean, that just is obvious. Now, you got to get out of those sort of discoveries. And now Olafsson brings the last piece into the game. He plays the move pawn to d4. And the idea is to bring one of these rooks up and swing it over to the f-file. And notice that, sorry, that's not what happened. Notice that the queen, the bishop are far away on the queen side. So after pawn takes d4, Olafsson played the move rook to d3. Here comes the rook. Now he's down a piece, but it doesn't matter. Knight e5. Bishop takes e5. Bishop takes e5. And rook f3. And now the game is over. If bishop to f6, queen g7 is checkmate because of the pin. And pin pieces don't protect. And if king e7, queen takes e6 is checkmate. So Olafsson won this game. And I really appreciated this game because Olafsson basically created an attack out of nothing. And he just played d3. He says, I've got this pawn on e4. It's blunting your development. And then I'm just going to do this. And you don't really have any pawn breaks. You know, like black doesn't have any pawn breaks. And I found that really beautiful. You know, I found that really beautiful. So, yeah. And I mean, f5 was sort of the final straw. Larsson was attacking this knight, trying to shoo it away. But I think he underestimated the bishop takes g7 piece sacrifice. And that was the game. But already it's very difficult to try to figure out what to do, because after the move h6, this pawn chain is being broken down, and white's about to come busting through. So Larsson's probably dead here anyway. Let me see what the computer says. The computer says it's plus 3.5 here for white. So it's already losing. It doesn't even matter. But, you know, part of what led up to this is that the fact that white never played the move d4, instead played just the move d3, and went for the kingside attack, and basically, black has no counterplay. There's no pawn break. There's nothing to distract. There's nothing to distract white. I mean, I guess one of the few things that you could possibly do is play b5 and try to go c4, but even then it just doesn't seem realistic. It seems very hard to pull that off. You have to go like here, 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 and even then, I mean, it's just like white's plan is very easy. This particular line of the ready, there is a lot of times this happens, the kingside pawn avalanche, and that's typically when the center isn't open, you look for the flank attacks. And remember, when this pawn went to d3, that meant that the center was going to be semi-closed, and that gives white a little bit of more permission to attack and expose the king a little bit, because it's not that easy for black to make his way over there.
Hi, I'm Peter Giannatos, founder of the Charlotte Chess Center. If you enjoyed these videos, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch these videos live, be sure to follow us on Twitch.